The bank does not have the money they loan to us. They create it out of thin air in just the manner outlined above, or earlier. All this money then, our supply of money, must be paid back to these bankers after we use it to produce whatever it is that we produce. The problem is not so much that we have to pay that money back. The real problem is that we have to pay it back plus interest. The money is never created with which to pay the interest, since all money is borrowed, and by borrowing more money to pay the interest, we simply increase the debt. Let me just say that the increasing payments of interest at, by the way, $160 million a day in Canada today, reduces the supply of cash or money in the system, in circulation. That's where it comes from. It comes from the principle that is borrowed. And that's why there was a bailout necessary back a few years ago. I think it was in 2007 or 2008. As our money supply kept dwindling by being used to pay interest on the national debt, amongst other debt, the money supply was being eliminated, so there needed to be an injection of cash into the system. However, instead of giving the money to the people who needed it and could spend it on things they needed, they gave it to the people who caused the problem in the first place, the bankers and their friends, actually companies that they own. John Kenneth Galbraith was a world-famous Canadian economist, once said this: "To repay a nation's debt is to eliminate its money supply." You can understand why now, I hope. With that little insight into what the problem is, let me tell you how it can be remedied. Again, whether your problem is CRA, whether your problem is the interference with your right to go fishing, whether it is people that are CAS that's taking your children, it doesn't matter. The solution is the same. Since we are all born equal, how is it that anyone or any institution can tell us what to do and how to live our lives? Well, the truth is they can't. Not if we remain human beings, men and women. The truth is, we let them rule over us, and we do nothing about it. They got control over us, or authority over us, when our parents registered our births with the government, thus allowing the government to create a legal person with the same name as ours, over which they have control or authority since they created it. We are then caused, and we do, believe that the name is us. When we are asked who we are, we say, "Oh, I'm Wally Dove," instead of saying, "I'm a human being or man whose name is called Wally Dove." The difference is huge. If I am a man, no one has authority over me. If I am a name or legal person, then the government and all its agents have control or authority over me. As a man, I am subject to God's laws, also known as natural law, and God's authority only. As a person or legal person, Wally Dove, I am subject to man's laws, the acts and statutes of the Parliament of Canada and the provincial legislatures. None of man's laws recognize a man or a human being or a woman, at least not for the most part. One exception is the International Bill of Human Rights. This bill is made up of three main documents: the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Within these documents we find the solution and remedy that we are looking for. Let me show you. Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. If this is so, and they, the member states of the United Nations who signed and ratified these agreements, agree with this statement, then how can anyone be telling us what to do and whether or not we can fish, or whether or not we have control or authority over our children? The fact is, they can't unless we are recognized as a legal person and or the legal name. Let me show you. Article 6 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states this: everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. This right is repeated in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights at Article 16. You see right there, the fact that you have the right, or a right, which is not a compulsion, to be recognized as a person, means you have a right not to be recognized as a person before the law. This also means that a person is something other than what you are naturally. This is big, because if you are not recognized as a person before the law, then the law that speaks to persons does not apply to you. And all of man's laws speak to persons, with rare exceptions, such as certain sections of the Criminal Code of Canada and the International Bill of Human Rights. They recognize human beings, or men and women. Therefore, all we have to do to remedy the situation is let the government know of how our assertion or waiver of certain of our human rights. Then it is done. They cannot force us to be recognized as a person before the law, because to do so would be to violate another of our human rights. This right is recognized in Article 4 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which says, "No one shall be held in slavery or servitude." This right is also duplicated in Article 8 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. To force you to be recognized as a person in order to gain control or authority over you is to hold you in servitude, and that is a violation of your human rights. Right there. Now, I could go on, but suffice it to say that this is our remedy. I believe it is, at least, and we are having success in this process. In fact, we have certain government agents appointed by the Governor General who are assisting us in our efforts to find a remedy. In fact, some, if not all of them, have also filed the documents that we are also filing in this process and following the same process. Our process is to put the government on notice with our declaration of private law under claim of right, followed 60 days later if necessary, with a notice of and demands, followed 60 days later if necessary with a report to the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights, whose duty it is to enforce the International Bill of Human Rights on member countries, such as Canada, who abuse the human rights of the human beings living within their borders, or as I like to say, those living on the landmass commonly known as Canada. This process was just started on June the 13th of 2012, of this year, by most of us, so we have not yet had time to see where this is all going to end up. Suffice it to say that we have people within government who are working with us, and for me anyway, that assures our ultimate success. They have suggested that it would be helpful if large numbers of people joined in this process, I should say, with us. We may have some bumps and tangles and grinds to deal with, but we will prevail, because when it is all said and done, we need to have, and we do indeed have, the power. We have no authority on this earth. Since these human rights are yours to assert or invoke, then you too can join with us. We have prepared all the documents for you to use, and they are free of charge, although a donation to assist in the continued research and maintenance of our website will be gratefully accepted, and to do so you may visit our website at www.naturalgod.com naturalgod.com. That's naturalgod, one word, .com. If you want to take back control of your fishery and your children and your life, then you need to join with us, because that objective is attainable. God bless you, and may you enjoy the wonderful day that our Creator has blessed us with.